Hi, and a great big warm welcome to episode 13, not unlucky for us, season 2 of the Ask Zofie podcast. So just right off the bat, I'm going to say I haven't had my lunch yet, and it is, I don't actually know what time is it? Oh, 2:29, flipping heck. But I wanted to get going on this recording. I mentioned in probably the last 2 episodes, that I'm so excited to share the story of me buying my new home. So I'm champing at the bit, which means I haven't had my lunch, and like I say, it's nearly 2:30 now. So just advance warning that there might be some tummy noises. Let's see how that goes. And I feel like this might be slightly longer than usual, because I've written out some sort of the bare bones of what I want to say, and there's a fair bit. So this podcast, I'm just checking what I've called it exactly, is called Nothing and No One Can Come Between You and Your Stuff, a cool manifesting story. And if you're into manifesting, if you love those cool manifesting stories, those inspiring stories, you will love this episode. So I can't wait to share all this with you, to inspire you, and I hope to give you some hope and uplift you, and really act as this reminder that this stuff works. I was chatting with a friend recently, and he said, I hadn't heard this myself, but Wayne Dyer said that there are some people who are what he calls connectors, and their purpose is to connect others with, sorry, I'm just fiddling with my hair because there's some strands out of place and it's distracting me. If you're just listening, you won't even know that. But who are these connectors whose role it is in life to connect others with the energy of the divine. And I definitely feel like I'm one of those humans, and it's my honor to be this kind of person. And of course, this podcast is one of the means of me doing just that. So before I get to the topic, and before I share my behind the scenes, I'm going to do a quick page pick from my beloved book, Love Notes. If you follow me on Instagram, you might know that I've pretty much written the second volume, except in the second volume, I am going to put it into sections and make it ever so slightly different. So I will release that, publish it next year, but not for a minute. I'm sharing snippets of it on Instagram because what's been coming through is just so soothing for me, the same as in the original Love Notes. And I want to get that out to anyone who's ready and willing to hear. But for now, Love Notes is available, but Love Notes 2, or Volume 2, will be out in 2023. So let's see, before I get into it, what comes up for you today from Love Notes. Okay, this is page 92, and it is simply, my peace is patient, my love unfaltering, my hold eternal. And then the next page is, come home to me now. My peace is patient, my love unfaltering, my hold eternal. Come home to me now. And I don't know about you, but when I read, when I feel those words, I feel just the ease of it and the timelessness, particularly at this pre-Christmas time of year. People just ramp up the insanity, this life that so many of us lead, where we're trying to achieve and acquire stuff that we imagine is going to make us happy, external stuff to fill this void on the inside. And that really speaks to the peace that underlies everything, and from which everything is born, and feels very soothing and a nice contrast, for me anyway, versus the crazy out there, which I, for one, am not vibing with. I left a voice note for my friend this morning saying I'm kind of like, I don't know, maybe the love child of Scrooge and the Grinch. I say it tongue in cheek, but I like aspects of Christmas, but what I don't like is the frantic, frenetic energy around. And so there's a big part of me that really looks forward to January, when most people are like feeling fat and depressed and skint and sad that it's all over, for a return to normality. And I had this thought this morning as I was driving along, that I feel a bit like, you know, when So I was just double checking I was recording. You know, when a parent says to kids who are like playing, oh, it's going to end in tears. I feel a little bit like that. Like I can see the ups and the downs and the roller coaster of the human mind. And it's like, if you are going at it full belt, so to speak, then there is going to be a crash, like when you get drunk and there's a hangover, or you spend too much and then you have the issues that come on the back of that. And I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form, don't have a good time, don't enjoy yourself, don't be in joy and bliss and so on and so forth. But it's the overextending of oneself. It's the, like I said, trying to fill that inner void with the external stuff, which just doesn't work, that leads to the flip side of it, which doesn't feel good. But anyway, I won't go into that. And like be a big party pooper about Christmas, which isn't my vibe. But like I say, what I'm not into is just this tension and this pressure, because I know more than anyone the cost, the true cost of being busy, tense, under pressure. Actually, I'll share as a behind the scenes. I've got two because I just want to share this one that's just come to me. I said to my daughter this morning, because there's someone in my life who very clearly is overextended, tired, stressed. And I said to Yara, what I realized this morning was, for me, having what I call wiggle room, i.e. some white space in your life, in your schedule, in your diary, is sexy as. And she was like, what? What are you on about, mummy? But that, I mean it, that's sexy. It's like, I listened to this woman called Andrea Crowder, and she said that someone said to her once, having savings or having a fat bank account is sexy. And I was like, yeah, these things like saving seems really boring often. And going to bed early and meditating, for me, the state that this brings about of peace, of joy, of bliss, is sexy as. I'm not into this, oh yeah, I'm so busy, my diary is slammed. For me, that's just fear disguising itself, and I'm not interested in that in any way, shape, or form. For me personally, having that wiggle room, having that white space, that is sexy. Anyway, that wasn't the behind the scenes. I can't speak. That wasn't the behind the scenes I wanted to share. What I wanted to say was, I talked about this before. In human design, I'm a projector, which means that I have ebbs and flows in my energy, and I'm not here to be one of the doers of the world. Projectors do have energy, but like I say, ebbs and flows. And really, our purpose on this planet, in this life, is to bring wisdom and insights. And most people are what's called a generator in human design, which means they have, or that's to say they have more energy, and they can be a little bit more go, go, go. They still do need breaks and respite, but they can contend with a busier life in an easier way than someone who's a projector, or the other types like a manifestor or a reflector, for example. And when I'm working, particularly with private clients, which you might know, I've been doing some private client work again, that drains my energy. It's not a bad thing, but it depletes me. And also when I'm looking after my kids, that drains my energy. I don't have any support with that. I'm a single parent, and looking after my business and my home, there's lots of things that drain me. And again, couple this with being a projector, and again, my human design says I need a lot of space. My main way of replenishing and rejuvenating, I'm also an introvert, is to be by myself. And I realized that I hadn't been by myself enough recently in the last sort of couple of weeks, and I was tired. So one of the things I've done is, in my diary, I've created this kind of traffic light system. So anything that depletes me of energy has a red heart. Anything that is neutral has an orange heart. And anything that replenishes me has a green heart. So like a client session gets a red heart. Doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. It just means that when I do it, it depletes me. Something that's neutral, so that could be a workout, because a workout is going to benefit me, but it's also going to take from my energy, gets an orange heart. Things like an early night, meditating, visiting the spa, time alone with no other human to think about, that gets a green heart. And I can easily look in my diary and see, whoa, there's a lot of red and orange hearts here. This is not conducive to my alignment. I'm going to shift something. And the thing I wanted to say that actually I did write down, and I couldn't understand my handwriting, but I've just remembered what it was, is I talk about this all the frickin' time. right? You might know that I work a lot with children, or I certainly have done in my private client work. And the thing that comes up again and again and again and again and again is that these kids are overscheduled and there's too much pressure and they don't get enough sleep and enough downtime. And the consequences of this can be pretty full on. This is what I work with heaps. And the thing that parents say to me all the time when their child is overscheduled, and I explain to them that living like this is not conducive to them being calm, is, but they love all the things. And just because they love the things doesn't mean that doing all the things is healthy for them. So I might love working with a client, I might love doing an exercise class, but if I'm doing too much, then it becomes counterproductive. That's why those things have the amber or the orange heart, because I might enjoy them and there might be some benefits, but they also drain me in some ways at the same time. Whereas certain things, like an early night, like meditating, like perhaps walking in the woods when it's not so flippant freezing, those things, there's no downside. They're not draining me in any way, shape or form. They are just replenishing me. So it's really cool actually to look in my diary to make it simple and visual like this. If you have a similar vibe to me and you want to do it, I would really recommend it, and let me know. Okay, so what am I calling it today? Let me remind myself. Nothing and no one can come between you and your stuff. I'm going to say that again because it is truth with a capital T. It is powerful as, and it will serve you so freaking well, my friend. Nothing and no one can come between you and your stuff. Nothing and no one. A cool manifesting story. So, like I said earlier, like I said last week, and I think the previous week, I am so eager to share what I'm going to share today. And it's really the story of, I haven't yet bought my flat. It might all fall through, in which case I was going to jokingly say I'll eat my words, but I won't, because even if it doesn't come to pass, then what I'm sharing still stands. But anyway, I won't get into that. So there's quite a bit to share, and I'm going to be relatively brief. Otherwise, this podcast will be a flipping masterclass. And I'll need my lunch before we get to that point. So, okay, really what I'm sharing is the cool story of how I've manifested getting to this point with purchasing a new home. And I want to just preface this by saying, if you are caught up in your mind, someone can tell you the most miraculous story and you will poo-poo it. The mind will find some way of explaining it away. Now, super brief. A number of years ago, something really awesome and freaky happened to me. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see, but I have a piercing here. I don't know what it's called, but it's one of those piercings that's not in like the lobe of your ear. It's one of the tricky ones. And long story short, I got the piercing done. And then a month or so later, there was a different earring in that piercing. It was an earring that I didn't own. It's very challenging. Like one of my friends, Sarah and Daniel, will attest to how tricky it is to get that earring in and out. And I only believed it myself because I had a photo that I was looking back through of the original piercing, and then I'd seen the piercing. Somehow, the piercing in my ear basically got changed to an earring that I'd never seen, that I didn't own. And I was telling a friend about this, and she was trying to explain it away with logic and rational thinking and reason. You cannot explain that away. I mean, you can give it your best shot, but you really cannot explain it away. This happened at a time when I was really powerfully asking to know from the divine, like, come on, tell me, is this stuff true? And two things that happened, I think I've talked about this before, I'm just getting a flashback now. Two things that happened that preceded that I did do my best to explain away with logic and reason, and this I could not. And then I went, please can we go back to white feathers and angel numbers, because this is freaking me out. But anyway, the point is that I will tell you the cool stuff that's happened so far in terms of me purchasing my new home. And if you're really caught up in your head or just noticed it, like we all have the mind to contend with, the mind is going to go, oh yeah, well that was luck, that was just serendipitous, that was happenstance. Einstein says the most no, that's a different quote. Einstein says Coincidences are God's way of remaining anonymous. And what he means by this is those coincidences, and there's no such thing from my point of view as a coincidence. They are the great chess player in the sky, God, the universe, your higher self, bringing these components together miraculously that the mind then calls a coincidence. Anyway, let me get to it. So if you've been listening to me for a minute, or you're one of my members, or you follow me on Instagram or whatever, then you will most likely know that over the last, I don't know how long it's been in earnest, let me just say 6 months, I've been extra focused on manifesting kind of mostly financial abundance into my life. Also, a greater feeling of support in the physical. They are kind of linked, but predominantly and mainly and mostly, it's been this powerful desire to bring financial abundance into my life so that it enables me. I just want the feeling of being able to relax and also show up more fully in the world. So I've been working, let's just say, behind the scenes on my energy, and anyone up close and personal to me can absolutely attest to the fact. And if you're one of my members and you read my weekly emails, I was saying for weeks and weeks and weeks, my favorite meditation is the Magnetize Money. My favorite meditation is, I listen to that again and again and again, almost as many times as I listen to Eckhart Tolle's The Power of No. The Power of Now. And like I said to a friend recently, I pretty much know that book verbatim. I could do the audio version just out of my head. But anyway, I've been working on my energy, okay? The reason that I and others like me say, and I've said this on this podcast before, energy is everything, is because this is where you get your bang for your buck. This is where your power is, this behind the scenes work. Just like if you go and watch a theatre production, you don't see what's happening behind the curtain unless there's some kind of incident and all of the prep and all the, the lighting and the rehearsals. But that's the mainstay of what it takes to get that production there for you to observe. Exactly the same as what's going on in your life. So I'm just checking my notes. Yeah, so I've been working on my energy. And one of the questions that I've been asking and focusing on that I've shared before is what would 100 million me do? How would 100 million me feel on a very regular basis? And this doesn't mean that I specifically want 100 million pounds, but that figure just works for me in terms of thinking of this wealthy version of me. And I've been really focusing on embodying that feeling of really being at ease. And I did a masterclass on what did I call it? I can't remember now, on money a few months back. If you're in my membership and you haven't seen that yet and you want to get the replay, message me. It is so helpful. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to start an offer today until I'm actually not sure when, Christmas at the latest. If you use the code XMAS, so obviously just XMAS, I'll share in the show notes, you will get, when you sign up for my membership, 2 months free to try it. So if you do that and you want the masterclass, DM me, email me, WhatsApp me, whatever, something me, and let me know, and I'll send you that masterclass on money. And actually, all 3 of them that I've done, they're all things that are just universally so freaking helpful. And I still get messages from people now saying, since the masterclass, I've had all these shifts and so on and so forth. But anyway, I came up with these awesome realizations around the topic of money. And I've been working, excuse me while I take a swig of my vodka. Not really. My granddad would be proud though if he thought it was vodka. And funnily enough, vodka is the drink that I can drink and not really get drunk, and I think that's my Polish blood. Anyway, again, I digress. And so I've been working on this idea of all these different money beliefs and shifting them and getting into embodying the energy of the wealthy version of me. Now, this isn't a story of what I did. This is really the story of who I became. If you're caught up in your mind, or just notice what the mind wants to do. You know, like when you're single and then you chat to a friend and they met a nice guy and you go, oh, where did you meet him? And they say, oh, at the gym. And you think, right, I've got to join that gym and I've got to go to that gym. Or you really want to get pregnant and everyone's getting pregnant. And you say, well, how did you do it? And they say, well, I just ate a grapefruit every day and obviously did the other stuff, but whatever. And then you think, right, I need to start eating grapefruits. It's not about the thing that you're doing per se, it's your energy. And yes, that's part of it, but it's such a minuscule part of it. So don't be thinking about what I did or what you're going to do using this information relative to your current situation, but take note of the energy, the energetic component. So what's the second point on my notes? I can't read my writing today. I think I was so enthusiastic that I just scribbled it out. Yeah, so one of the ideas that's been in my mind for a while that I've been sort of just mulling over was this idea that I have a fair bit of equity in my home. I'm really fortunate in that respect. It's a 3-bed, semi-detached house in Bristol. It's got quite a big garden. And I was like, I've got all this equity in my home and it feels wonky. I want my home and the equity to be working for me. And at the moment, I feel like I'm working for it. Like there's certain things I can't afford to do financially at the moment that I would like to do on the house. And I'm spending a lot of time on the garden and cleaning and this, that, and the other. I was like, this doesn't feel like a loving kind of reciprocal relationship between me and my home, between me and the finances that are tied up in it. And I just had this idea that, you know what? I want my home and the equity to work for me and not the other way around. And I might have shared this before, I had this realization that if I came to me as a client and I was advising me as that client, I would say, Zofie, your setup in life at the moment in terms of what you need to do and the amount of support you have or / don't have in the physical world is not conducive to you being in alignment. So it's like, right, I've got to change this. So here's the deal. What I'm doing with this move and freeing up some equity and I'm going into a flat versus a house. So I won't have the garden to deal with anymore, or things like the roof and the driveway and all those different things. I am shifting things in my physical world. So I am literally, I'm moving myself and my children and the cats. Don't tell Laffy, because I've kind of dropped the hint that she's going to be an inside cat, and I don't think she really gets it yet. So if you see her, don't tell her. Susie will be fine, but I'm not sure about Laffy. Although I did say to Vinny that we could create like a parkour section in his bedroom, so hopefully that'll be a vibe for her. But anyway, what I am doing here is I'm shifting the external. I'm shifting my physical world in order to affect energetic change. So I've worked on my energy that's brought about this situation in my external that then I'm changing further to shift my energy. But ultimately, it's all about the energy. This is where people get uber confused, because they see people doing X, Y, Z or ABC in the physical, and they imagine that, oh, okay, it was moving to France that did it, or it was ditching their husband that did it. No, that might have been the catalyst for them shifting energetically, or that might have happened on the back of them shifting energetically, but it's the energetic shift that matters. So I've started with the energetic work. This is it's brought about this sort of series of events in the physical, which are then going to also have more of an impact on my energetic, how I feel, because in the flat, I'm going to have less to do. I'm going to be more financially supported. I'm going to have some money set aside. So that's going to create this feeling of wealth. And so that is going to enable, it's like this positive feedback loop. Hopefully that makes sense. So what does that say? My third point, it looks like keep wishing on me. I've got no idea. Oh yeah, okay, I got it. Yes. I feel the other day, or a few times recently, I've had to go through security as I've spoken to like mortgage advisors and stuff, and I always feel like, oh my god, like an actual terrorist when I'm doing that. And then when I get the answers right, I feel like, yay. But they should send you out like a sticker in the post or something when you get that right. But anyway, so the third point is I have kept working on me. This is what this is all about, is that what's happened with the flat has happened on the back of me working on me. And this isn't about me. This is about you applying this to your life. And please know, just like happened in my marriage, it wasn't a healthy environment for me. It was clipping my wings. I kept working on myself, working on myself, working on myself. And then things started to break free and the marriage ended. But it happened on the back of me working on me. So put your energy here. Think about this. You're the only person who is with you literally from your point of birth until your point of death. And of course, eternally, because you are a soul and a body, not just a body. But the energy and the effort that you put into working on yourself is therefore bound to pay great dividends. So here's what happened. I've been mulling over possibly moving for a while. Like, do I get a slightly cheaper house in an area that's not as expensive and do that up, or in a similar area that needs work, so I have a bit of money to one side, maybe less of a garden, maybe a flat? I've been toying with this idea for a little while now, but not with any great sense of kind of really I'm going to do anything about it. It just sort of keeps coming back to me as I'm working on my energy, focused on wanting to feel supported, focusing on abundance. And I was looking on Rightmove, I don't know, let's just say 4 or 5 weeks ago, I've forgotten now. And I saw this flat that was sold. And I was like, whoa, if that was for sale, that would be perfect. And that was it. It was a 3-bed, 2-bathroom, balcony in a really nice area, quite a bit cheaper than my home. Like, yeah, if that was, and I just had this really easy, not attached to anything, yeah, that would be great. And that was it. And then I think it was like 2 days later, I was looking on Rightmove again and saw the very same flat. This time it was back for sale. And in that moment, I just knew, excuse me while I take another sip of my drink, I just knew I'm going to be living in that flat. It was exactly the same before I bought the house that I'm currently in. As soon as I saw it, I just knew it was going to be my home. It got sold. I still knew. and I was right. And I had this same feeling with the flat. And it was in the evening, and the next morning I rang the estate agent and arranged a booking for the Saturday. It was like a couple of days' time, I think. And I drove up. I think this is before I went to the viewing. I drove up to where the flat is. It's close to my home now. And as I was driving up towards it, I just had this amazing feeling of just being held and safe and secure and ultimately alignment. And by the way, I had particularly pre this happening, I've been saying this, I've said this a bunch of times, I've been working on my energy. I'd had these really distinct and poignant moments of feeling so held in the love of the divine and so taken care of. And this was a mirror of that. And I just knew that the hand of the divine was evidenced. The hand of the divine is in everything, but it's just sometimes we're really blocked from it. And I could really feel my connection with it in that moment. And anyway, I'm just checking if I've missed anything out here. I went to see the flat on the Saturday. It was actually down as number 6, and I don't particularly vibe with the number 6. Nothing against it, no offense if it's your favorite number, it's just not mine. And we're walking around, and as soon as I went in there, I just went, yep, meant to be. B, Daniel said to the estate agent, oh, what number is this? And he said number 8. And I was like, whoa. 8. I was born on the 8th of the 8th. It's my favorite number. It's got so much significance for me. And I was like, whoa, okay. And anyway, I didn't feel any tense energy. I just sensed this is going to be my home, and felt really, really thankful, really, really good about it, because it ticks so many of my boxes. And it's not easy for a property to do that, to have quite a big balcony. So I've got like a little bit of outdoor space, to have 2 bathrooms. So there's no more fighting over the bathroom with the children, to have a bedroom that's a decent size for everyone, loads of storage in a really lovely, really safe area. And I was like, oh my God, I felt so taken care of. And let me just say that in every moment, you are being taken care of in the exact same way that I felt in that moment. It's just that when things don't seem to be working out, when you're blocking yourself, then it doesn't feel that way, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's truth. Like, the divine is doing its best in every moment. It's just sometimes we can't feel it because we are out of alignment. So saw it, loved it, but didn't feel tense about it. Anyway, The next day, I get an email from the estate agent saying, I think I need your help with something. Long story short, he had some issues with his daughter. He'd been out the night before, so the night after of the day he'd met me, and someone said, you need to speak to someone called Zofie. And he was like, hang on, I met a Zofie earlier on. And so this is another cool coincidence, is that he needed my help with his daughter. And what I want to say on this is that the more in alignment you are, it's like, for me, it feels like there's this funnel and you kind of go down the funnel and things just get like, you know, that, oh, it's a small world thing that we say and we feel and we experience. More of that happens. There are more synchronicities, more coincidences, more experiences of happenstance and so on and so forth. This is just what happens in my experience, the more aligned you get. And what the universe is doing is it's able to bring together all these different components. So there's a girl who's like, her soul is calling out for help, and so are her parents. And I'm calling out for this experience of being in a new home and so on and so forth. And it's all woven together. And the more that you're in a good place, the more that you can be what Abraham Hicks called a cooperative component in your life and also in the lives of others, because like animals and birds and so on are really great cooperative components. That's why so often they're these messengers, because they're not caught up in stressy human minds like us humans often are. And the clearer your mind becomes, the more like an animal you are in some ways, so the more that you can be a cooperative component. So I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like the synchronicities and the signs are just off the charts with this, and it feels amazing. Anyway, so I'm just turning over my notes. I wasn't in a position to proceed with my property. It wasn't on the market, but I attempted to put in an offer and ask the people that were selling it to hold it. They wouldn't. Fine. Okay. I knew that the market's quiet. I knew that my home had a really good chance of selling because it's a beautiful home. It's all been done up. It's in a great area. And I just felt like this or something better. It really feels like it's going to be this, but ultimately this or something better, because I have complete faith in the divine. I know the only thing that can mess it up, the only thing that can stand between me and my stuff is me. The only thing that can stand between you and your stuff is you. So what's there to freak out about? Because I can keep working on me. The divine's doing its bit. Let's chill. Okay, so what have I got written here now? Yeah, so I worked on getting my home on the market. And more coincidences, I spoke to the estate agent about, there was one viewing booked for Friday. I think it went on the market on a Wednesday. And I just thought, that person's going to offer. I'm going to sell my house to that person. I went to see the estate agent, and the estate agent went, oh yeah, he had a bit of a thing with the girl that's coming to look at your property. And I was like, oh yeah. And so the estate agent knew the girl from school. So another coincidence. Anyway, she came to see it on the Friday. The feedback I got from the estate agent wasn't super positive, but I was like, I think they're going to offer. And I kept the faith. Then over the weekend, my mind wants to come in with some doubts and this, that, and the other. Excuse me, swig number 3. And I was like, no, I'm not going to get caught up in this fear. And so what I actually did was I wrote out a list of all the pros of moving into the flat and all of the pros of staying in my house, because I wanted to just manage any sense of potential disappointment around not selling my home and not buying the flat. And what this did for me energetically was it took away any tension, because it was like, it put me into a feeling place of win-win. If I go to the flat, these are the pros. If I stay in my home, these are the pros. Really powerful thing to do. And I was doing a bit more work on that on the Monday, and I was like, I want that flat, but I don't need it. I really felt that energy. It's freaking golden. I want it. I don't need it. I'm fine either way, because whether I go, whether I stay, I'm going to make the best of it. And God, the universe, the great chess player in the sky, has got me. This whole experience so far has really underlined that for me. 10 minutes later, I get a call from the estate agent. They're going to make an offer. It's like, yes, I knew it, and my energy was so ready for it. Anyway, the offer comes through the next day. Another coincidence. I recognize the name of the girl that's buying the property, my home. And I used to go to a dance class with her. We're not good friends, but we're Facebook friends. I was like, whoa, this small world thing is really off the charts. Okay, anything else I wanted to say? Yeah, so basically, this story of how everything has fallen into place speaks to the power of you being aligned. This is why I've called this episode like no one and nothing can stand between you and your stuff. When I teach Manifesting Miracles, I share a story of lovely Carla, who does my lymphatic drainage massage, how basically, long story short, when she met her boyfriend, there were two guys. One was called something like Antonio and there was an Antonia, and she fancied the one and not the other. And basically she messaged the wrong one. She really was not trying to get with this guy, but she messaged the wrong one and ended up having to go on a date with him. And basically the rest is history, because they're now together. She absolutely adores him. Point is, even when she was trying to mess it up, when things were aligned and she was in like vibrational energetic match to it, even she couldn't mess it up. So please, please, please know this. What's happened with this flat so far isn't about so much the steps I took. Yeah, I rang the estate agent. Yeah, I checked on Rightmove. Yeah, I cleaned my house and it looked so brimming great for the brimming so blooming great for the photographs to go on Rightmove and so on and so forth. Yeah, but it wasn't about that. It was about my energy. You couldn't argue with my energy. My energy was ready and raring to go, and the universe is always ready and raring to go, apart from the divine timing thing. But anyway, this is about you knowing that just work on your alignment. Keep your key focus here. The other quick thing I want to say is that when I was getting my mortgage for my current home, it was really challenging for lots of reasons. And I don't need a mortgage for this property, but I would like to port my mortgage over. It's my first phone call with the mortgage company. It was a bit like, not the best. I came off the phone, I was like, right, I've got some energetic blocks here. I'm going to work on them. And when I did the pros and pros list about the flat and my house now, and when I did the energetic work for around the mortgage, it wasn't to try and make stuff happen. I talked about this, I think, last week when I talked about manifesting tips. It was to make sure that I wasn't blocking. It's to make sure that I was a cooperative component. And then you hand it over to the universe in complete faith. And so I recognized that basically, again, long story short, when I was about 17, there was a CCJ against me. It was nothing to do with me, and it really freaked me out. And I've still got the remnants of that have been showing up in the physical through challenges getting mortgages and certain credit and so on and so forth. It's like, okay, I'm going to work through this energetic block. And then, sorry, I'm cramming so much in, but the mortgage process was so straightforward. I could see you can track, because it's with Santander, you can track online now how it goes through, and it went to the underwriter, and the same minute they agreed it. And it's so night and day versus my previous experiences. Again, it speaks to my energy, my alignment. And the cool thing is I sold my house in less than a week in a very quiet market. Obviously, we're coming up to Christmas. We're in the cost of living crisis. I'm doing air quotes there. People are not really, I mean, some people are, but as a rule, people are not buying houses. I sold it in less than a week. Why? Because I'm aligned, and it is divine timing, and it's always the way for you. This is the thing I want you to know. It's not about me buying a flipping flat. It's about you and what's possible for you in your life when you're aligned. And please know this truth, that no one and nothing can stand in your way. This is truth, like I said earlier, with a capital T. So yes, oh, and by the way, I've got to mention this. I'm going to be working soon on a course. It's going to be like midway between the membership and working as a private client of mine, where I go through so many of the processes that I've picked up over the years, like the one that I used on myself to get over the tension around the mortgage. And it will be out early next year. I cannot wait to share that content with you. It will be as close to having a therapist kind of like in your pocket, in your ear, as you can get. So just FYI. Yeah, okay, I've said this already, but just a reminder, it's not about the action, it's about the alignment. When you're in alignment, like if I think of this as an example, me as an example, when I was in alignment, I just had the inkling to, I'll go on Rightmove now, or I'll check it again. That is a small insight or moment of inspiration, a small action, but when it comes out of alignment, it's really potent and powerful. So yeah, and the other thing, I've said this a couple of times, but I've just got a reminder here. I didn't work on my energy to try and affect an outcome. This is what I so commonly see happen. You know, I talked about this last week. Someone sending out an email and they like dance around the kitchen to feel good so that people will reply. No, this says you don't trust, you don't have faith. This says you think you have to do it yourself through the dancing. The dancing is not a bad thing or anything, but it is there to help you get into alignment so that you're not blocking yourself. You don't need to make it happen. This is a big misunderstanding. And make sure that you are a cooperative component in your own life. The universe will put the other bits there. Okay, so as I've said, the whole point of this is to help you to see what's possible in your life. I sold my home in less than a week with one viewing and managed to purchase a flat that was on the market already at a time when the market is really challenging. It's irrelevant. When you're in alignment and it's divine timing, no one and nothing can stand in your way. Please know this. I know that when you look at the physical reality, all the physical stuff, this seems like crazy talk or anathema, but it's not. And I am living proof of this, and this story is living proof of this. Your mind might take this and go, oh, it's easy for her, la 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 la, and argue for your own limitations. Please don't do this, because it's dumb as. It's okay, but it's freaking dumb, and it works against you. Like I've said before, if you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. This is the vernacular of the mind, and the mind is freaking insane when you let it just go off on its own devices. So please let this story and my experience inspire hope in you. Okay, final reminder, if you use the code Xmas between now and I'm not sure when, but definitely Christmas at the latest, you will get 2 months free of membership when you sign up, and I will gift you the previous masterclasses. The information in those and the meditations, there is golden. I know that my thing that I have to give to you is my energy. Like my daughter said to me, you know, she asked me, will I feel better? Will this happen? She says, whenever you tell me, mummy, it's right. And the reason is I believe so powerfully in these things, and I'm like this placebo. And please let me, if you're ready, be that power in your life. Like tap into that energy of mine. What was it I said that Wayne Dyer called them? Connectors. Let me be your connector in the physical, not connecting you to my energy, but connecting you to your own energy. Okay, that is it. I'm going to go and eat my flipping lunch. And I don't think my tummy made any noise. Imagine if it just went now, right at the end, just when I thought I'd got away with it. I'll be back next week. If you enjoy this podcast, would you do me a massive favor, please, and share it with someone that you love, you care about, that you think would enjoy it. Share it on your social media. It would mean so much. As you know, I do this for the love, and I don't get paid for this stuff. I'm just crazy enough to want to help you, to take my time out to be a source of inspiration for you. And it would mean heaps to me if you would do that and be helpful to the other personal peoples too. So thank you in advance for that. Thank you for listening. I'll be back next week. Next week will be my final, sorry, I just hit the mic there if that made a sound. Next week will be my final podcast episode before Christmas. I think I'm going to take 2 weeks off. I'll be back in January, and hopefully getting ready to move. And have an awesome rest of your day. Lots of love.